Hey everybody, this is Dr. Everson, and I thought things weren't quite awkward enough in our course, so I thought I would provide a slide debating the potentially promiscuous or sexually provocative behavior of Ruth. This is something that is debated in the commentaries, and there's been a lot of ink spilled over this whole thing, and so I thought I'd probably just share with you sort of the outlines of the two different perspectives. And you know, for what it's worth, here you go. And this is something that could come up in a church setting. People might have questions. It's also good just to be aware of sort of some of the debates that go on in academic circles, just so you sort of know where things stand, to be an informed reader of the Bible. Okay, so the argument for the provocative behavior of Ruth, that is to say that Ruth essentially propositioned Boaz sexually on the threshing floor, go as follows, and it has to do with the language that can be interpreted one way or another. So the verb that's used, gala, to uncover, does have a sexual connotation from time to time in the Old Testament, meaning to, and you can see how it would be, right? You uncover, a person uncovers him or herself prior to sexual activity. This is a normal thing, right? Otherwise, you're just dancing, right? Sorry, there should be a laugh track in here for dumb jokes, but right. So to uncover nakedness is the idea, and incidentally, this language is used with Lot and his daughters. Maybe you remember from reading Genesis, his daughters sort of take advantage of Lot in his drunken state, and they uncover his nakedness, meaning that they have sex with him. And of course, it's from this illicit union that the Moabites descend, and Ruth is a Moabite. And so some people sort of make that connection, and they say, aha, we have a reference here to Lot with Ruth. Also, the word regal in foot, the word regal in Hebrew, which means foot, can sometimes refer to genitals. Foot here being sort of a euphemism. And this happens in languages throughout the earth. Even the technical terms that we have for genitalia are puns, right? If you know Latin, not that I want to get into all of them, but if you know Latin, this is where our terms come from, and it's the same in Hebrew, that the word regal, foot, is often used as a pun in referring to genitals. So, for example, in 2 Kings 18 and in Isaiah 36, you have reference to waters of the feet, which would refer to urine, right? So they make water with their feet. Okay, so there you go. So regal can refer to genitals. I can't believe this is a PowerPoint. Is this too far? Is this too weird? This is a thing, though. People debate this, and what does the biblical text say? It's worth exploring. So here we go. I'll just keep going. Shachav in Hebrew means to lie down, and of course, just like in English, to lie down can refer to sex, right? And so it's the same in Hebrew. To lie down can refer to having sex. So the arguments for a provocative Ruth are sort of looking at this language, which is ambiguous, and simply assuming that it must be referring to illicit behavior. And the arguments for a modest Ruth, this comes from Hasselbalch's commentary. Hasselbalch, incidentally, is a Hebrew Union College grad who teaches at Wheaton. He's a great scholar and a very sweet person if you've ever met him at a conference or something. But the arguments I provide here are some of the things he argues for. And he starts off by saying that when you look at Naomi's instructions to Ruth, there's no hint of any hanky-panky going on here. That's not a Hebrew term. That's just a modern English phrase there, hanky-panky. And there's no hint of that. when you look at Naomi's instruction to Ruth. And so just starting off, there seems to be no implication for that. The Hebrew term margalot, from the feet, margalot could be taken as a noun meaning like place of feet. Place, of course, it's margalotav is the whole phrase in Hebrew, which would be place of his feet. He makes the case that this could refer to a place of his feet, referring to a location, explicitly excluding a sexual connotation in the text. That's a second argument that he makes. And the last one that I'll share, and he makes some other ones too, is that, and this is I think the most persuasive, is that a provocative or promiscuous Ruth, this wouldn't square with the virtuous or noble portrayal, description of Ruth that you see elsewhere in the book, right? And let me just say something about sexuality in the ancient world. I said in the previous Ruth slide that the family unit was really a means of survival, and I think this is often why concern over promiscuous behavior was great. People would become very upset, very outraged if people were behaving promiscuously. It's not simply because they were uptight or prudes or something like this. People would become upset because you may create a child that has no one to care for it. So you may be needlessly causing the death of a child, right? Because resources were scarce, and in order to survive, you needed a family unit. And if you don't have ties to the person, familial family ties to that person that you're having sex with, there's no guarantee that the father is going to be there to take care of, to provide for the child, and it's sort of all hands on deck in terms of survival. You need everyone there sort of pulling his and her weight to make things work. And and just incidentally, this is, there's some sociologists who make the case in medieval Europe, this is where patrilineal nomenclature comes from. This is where taking the father's name comes from. It's not just because men are patriarchal jerks, but it could be that the woman needs to convince the man that the children are his, and in doing so, she secures that the children will be taken care of. And of course, I'm not advocating that names should go one way or the other. I'm sort of trying to look at this from a historical survival perspective. And certainly with children in the ancient world, promiscuous behavior could lead to children that don't have anyone there to take care of them. And so to be promiscuous in the ancient world would not square with being portrayed as someone who is virtuous or noble. And certainly that is how Ruth is portrayed. And so, I find it difficult to interpret her actions as being sexually provocative, or that she would, her hope was to have this illicit encounter with him at the threshing floor in public. So anyway, that's my 2 cents, and those are sort of the brief sketch of the arguments, and food for thought. Hope you're all having a great day. Talk to you later.